Thank you very much, McQueen, and welcome, everyone. Thank you all for joining us. We're going to consider the state of NC State. I offer a special thanks to all of our students, our staff, our faculty, our alumni, our donors, and supporters who care about North Carolina State University, who appreciate its mission, and who are motivated by the university's vision and ideals. NC State succeeds through your role as leaders and agents of change, and as people with a curiosity and drive to not only better yourselves, but also the world around you. I'm proud to be here today and join you in reflecting on the state of NC State and looking ahead to the future. As we look ahead today, we see a future driven by the transformative power of innovation, and a future that calls for bold leadership in challenging times. That leadership can and does come from virtually every part of this great organization: staff, faculty, students, administrators, and alumni. We live in a world where change is a constant. Its pace seems to be ever increasing. And as the commercial says, life comes at you fast. As someone who wants to take a leadership role in helping the world deal with the technical, ethical, and social changes, sweeping changes that are coming at us, I can think of no better place to move strongly and positively into that future than right here at NC State. I came here in 1986 as an associate dean in the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences and a professor of food science. Most of the students on campus today were not even born yet. We knew little about the internet. We were just beginning to understand AIDS. Cable TV was still something of a luxury. There was no high-definition TV, no cell phones, no text messaging, no email, and no Facebook. We could buy a tank of gas for less than a $10 bill. There was no Mars rover, no human DNA sequencing. The term global warming was not part of the conversation. And when we talked about energy, we were usually talking about our own energy levels, not the global issue of the massive proportion that it is today. Just as the world has changed, NC State and North Carolina have undergone profound changes in those 21 years. It's quite a story. As North Carolina transitioned from an economy focused largely on manufacturing, furniture, and traditional agriculture to an economy focused on banking, biotechnology, value-added agriculture, and new wave textiles, NC State has helped lead the way. We were there at the creation and the emergence of the Research Triangle Park and established our own version of RTP with Centennial Campus. Our ability to build relationships, coalitions, and partnerships has helped position North Carolina as a relocation destination for individuals, for businesses, and for corporations. Our work has enabled us to take on the mantle of leadership in a changing world. As you have heard me say many times before, we are innovation in action. There is ample evidence that we are changing the world around us for the better, and true to our history, we will continue to be leaders in this changing world. To that end, over the past 18 months, we have undertaken two important initiatives that will help chart our future. I'd like to share them with you. First, our deans, administrators, and key faculty developed a new strategic plan for NC State and identified 5 focus areas that will drive much of what we do. These focus areas are producing leaders for the state, for the nation, and for the world; creating educational innovation; improving health and well-being; fueling economic development; and fifthly, driving innovation in energy and the environment. These 5 focus areas not only encompass some of the world's most pressing needs, but also match NC State's capacity for teaching, for research, and for engagement. They are the reasons we must continue to be leaders, drivers, and translators of change. Second, in addition to creating a new strategic plan, we talked in depth with higher education leaders from around the country about their perceptions of NC State and how we could distinguish ourselves. One of the very clear messages that emerged from these conversations was this one, and I quote, "NC State should define itself by what it is and what it can be, not by what it is not," end quote. So who are we, and what are we all about? What are our stories? We are a university with unique strengths in science and technology, yet with a constellation of disciplines matched by relatively few institutions in this country. We are located in one of the most livable, fastest growing, research-centered areas in the nation, an advantage that is truly the envy of many. We are taking on the big issues, but that's not all. Listen to some of our stories. Listen, then help us tell those stories. We're about a world-class faculty helping to save the Outer Banks coastline. And we're about an undergraduate research project designed to support tourism and conservation on the Inner Banks. We're about innovative collaborations like our joint biomedical engineering program with the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. While our Center for Urban Affairs and Community Services provides technical assistance and related support for many public sector agencies and programs, our Department of Social Work is working with the state to create a multiple response family support system in all 100 counties of North Carolina. We are all about attracting more graduate students because in their way, they drive research and economic development in North Carolina. They are our future leaders. The research that led to some of North Carolina's most dynamic companies, like SAS and Cree, began right here on this campus. So who are we? We are a statewide organization with a presence in every North Carolina county and on the Cherokee Reservation. No other institution can challenge or even approach that dimension of our leadership. We are educating our students, driving economic development, and we are good stewards of our resources. We are engaged in North Carolina's communities and creating unique partnerships. We are collaborative, we are entrepreneurial and interdisciplinary, teaching engineers to think like business managers and business managers to understand the science of their industries. We are giving back to our communities, to our state, to our nation, and to the world. We are about rolling up our sleeves and diving into the work of putting knowledge into the hands of people here in North Carolina and around the world. Leadership isn't necessarily about compelling people to follow. Leadership is about mission and things that matter. It's about seeing needs and seeing into the future. It is about caring enough to make a difference. We are good at that, and we're good at what we do. But these days, being good at what we do is not enough. It's important that we get better at telling our stories. Here's another direct quote from our discussions with higher education leaders. The one thing that NC State can do to have a national impact is to tell their own story. We are leaders. We have stories to tell. True stories, great stories. Let's all tell those stories. It's easy to think we've been so busy doing the work that we haven't gone about telling our stories. But I assure you, it is time for me, it is time for you, it's time for all of us to tell our stories. You probably have noticed a complete redesign of our web presence. I certainly hope you have. There are new opportunities for telling our stories on our homepage. The effort represents a significant investment in both time and funding, including the contributions of a broad-based web committee that directed the work. Visit the site. See the many stories that we've already told there. Notice the Share Your Story link that has been included as a way to encourage everyone, and I mean everyone, to share and tell great NC State stories. I would like to share with you just a few of our most recent stories. We've led the revitalization of the textile industry by creating non-traditional textiles. Just last year, for example, we licensed a light-activated technology that renders the surface of a clothing material deadly to viruses and bacteria, protecting doctors, nurses, and soldiers from the flu, SARS, and smallpox. Absolutely. We found dinosaur DNA when conventional wisdom suggested that it was impossible. Our students have logged 100,000 volunteer hours in the past year, and along with staff and faculty, have helped build and rebuild tsunami-ravaged homes in Sri Lanka, worked to restore the broken lives of people left in Katrina's wake, tutored children on the Navajo reservation, and helped low-income families prepare income tax returns. In addition, we've led a consortium of universities, industry, nonprofits, and government agencies that has moved North Carolina to the list of only 5 states being considered for the National Bio and Agri-Defense Facility, which could mean billions of dollars for the economy of North Carolina. We reached our $1 billion Achieve campaign goal 19 months early and have added significantly to our endowment, as well as numerous endowed professorships and scholarships. Centennial Campus just completed a record year with the addition of 17 partners. We created our PAC Promise, guaranteeing access and affordability to our students with the greatest financial need. The stories don't stop there, and we need to tell our stories. Arizona-based Diversified Energy Corporation will commercialize a green technology developed here at NC State called Sentia. The process converts virtually any fat source, animal fats, waste greases, and agricultural oils, into fuel. Biolex, a company that spun out of NC State in 1997, has raised more than $70 million in venture capital and is getting very close to a release of its lead product, a treatment for chronic hepatitis C. Another NC State startup, Embrex, was recently acquired for $155 million by Pfizer. We need to tell our stories. Just this month, we officially opened the Golden Leaf Biomanufacturing Training and Education Center, a direct response to the need for a well-educated and well-trained workforce in the biomanufacturing industry. BTech is not only a prime example of how we create relevant solutions for real-world needs, but also demonstrates the value we place on partnerships, as we are joined in that work by North Carolina Central University, the state's community college, Golden Leaf, and our industry partners. And speaking of partnerships, along with Dole Foods and the UNC system, we have broken ground for the NC State Institute for Advanced Fruit and Vegetable Science on the North Carolina Research Campus at Kannapolis. These represent a few of the highlights from just the last year. Great stories about NC State. Let's tell our stories. Stories like these describe NC State's dedication to leadership in a changing world. They are excellent examples of the work of an engaged university, which I believe describes NC State at its best. We use the term engagement frequently to illustrate NC State's mission and our work. But what does it mean to be an engaged university? In short, it's a story all about collaborations and partnerships. It's about two-way communication, and it's all about relationships. It's about our work with Christmas tree farmers in the western part of the state and shrimpers off the coast. It's about our work with startups and the most recognizable corporations. A deliberate, reasoned, and systematic discovery, integration, dissemination, and application of knowledge defines this university's partnership efforts. We are good at it because it is our heritage, our mission, and yes, our daily work. It is part of NC State's DNA. We are good at it because we have done the heavy lifting that allows us to quickly put in place the framework that makes partnerships work to the benefit of all partners. We need to tell that story. As it relates to the faculty, NC State is one of a small number of U.S. universities that has redesigned its administrative and evaluative processes to foster and recognize engagement and economic development activities. The university measures and values these activities through new guidelines for faculty evaluation, for promotion, and for tenure, including not only excellent preparation of undergraduate and graduate students, but also creative applied research that leads to real results and real solutions that help real people. The work of community engagement is not limited to our faculty. Connecting undergraduates and graduate students to research, as well as societal issues, is a key component of an NC State education. As a student commencement speaker recently remarked, an NC State education has everything to do with raising your hand, with stepping up, with creating communities, and making connections. Over the past year, we've ramped up our efforts to make connections not only here at home, but around the globe, signing several operating agreements and launching our School of Public and International Affairs. In October, Provost Nielsen and Vice Provost for International Affairs Bai-Lian Li went to China for work that resulted in agreements with universities there. This summer saw our first wave of exchanges between our universities, and we will continue to solidify those connections and those relationships throughout this academic year. We also signed an agreement in Chile and broadened our presence in the Prague Institute. Personally, I had the good fortune of traveling to India with Undersecretary of State Karen Hughes, and later to China with 4 of our deans and an economic development delegation from Wake County and RTP. There was some awareness of NC State, but even more awareness of Red Hat, paving the way for us to make more connections through conversations about this important Centennial Campus partner that has its world headquarters right here on Centennial Campus. This year, we will continue our international work, further developing our ties with India and also sending delegations to South Korea and to Japan to help build relationships there. Back home, throughout the year, there were many great stories of faculty, staff, and students who were honored by professional associations as well as public and private organizations. Several in particular stand out. I believe they exemplify our commitment to creating the kind of campus environment that people want to work and learn in, where a culture of inclusivity and diversity empowers great accomplishment. Some examples. Dean of Design Marvin Malika was elected first Vice President and President-elect of the American Institute of Architects, the national organization representing 80,000 of America's licensed architects, emerging professionals, and allied partners. William Neal Reynolds Professor of Genetics Trudy McKay was not only named to the Royal Society, she also became the 8th NC State faculty member in the last 12 years to be chosen for the Omax Gardner Award, the highest academic award presented by the Board of Governors of the UNC system. In the past 3 years, 3 staff members, Carl Hedrick, Denise Baker, and Ann Turner, have received statewide awards of excellence from our governor. 4 of our students recently received prestigious Goldwater scholarships. That is, incidentally, the maximum number any institution can receive. Cullen Jones won an NCAA swimming championship in the 50-yard freestyle, then turned professionally and quickly made history at the Pan American Championships, becoming the first African-American swimmer to own part of a world record. And of course, women's basketball coach Kay Yao was not only honored by ESPN, but also was an outstanding example of personal poise and dignity as our team made its run through the ACC and NCAA tournaments. What a team that was. Today I am proud to announce that the state of North Carolina will be recognizing Coach Yao's achievements by honoring her with the inaugural Spirit of North Carolina Award. A little bit about this award. This award was inspired by Kay's genuine interest in helping others in the shared quest for excellence. After the initial presentation to Coach Yao on October 15th, the award will continue her legacy by forever after being known as the Kay Yao Spirit of North Carolina Award. Coach? Congratulations, Coach. And while we're on the subject of athletics, we all know college sports bring a unique dimension to the social life of our campus and help spread the name of NC State on the national stage. While we had many good stories to come from our teams, I want to particularly mention how the men's tennis team and Coach John Choboy went deep into the NCAA tournament for the first time ever into the Sweet 16. In fact, our Wolfpack team beat Carolina for the first time in almost 20 years to get there. Also, we welcomed Coach Tom O'Brien to the Wolfpack family. Tom brings a strong record of achievement on and off the field. And in men's basketball, we welcomed Sidney Lowe back home. Not only are we proud to have one of our own back, but Sidney's fashion sense. Sidney's fashion sense is now the source of a new phrase for Wolfpack pride. Are you ready for the phrase? Fear the blazer. All right? I can't let the opportunity pass without acknowledging the work of our legislators and our governor on the budget they crafted this year, as well as the confidence of the people of North Carolina, the confidence that they have shown in NC State and in the UNC system. We are pleased that the General Assembly has committed to fully funding enrollment growth and fully funding need-based financial aid in 2007-2008. This budget will enable NC State to better compete for faculty, for students, and for staff. It will help us make investments in teaching, research, and outreach, and it will enhance our facilities to support that enrollment growth and new programs. In a typical year, NC State receives funding for one or two major capital projects. This year, we had the good fortune of receiving funding for four. The Randall B. Terry Companion Animal Hospital, which was also supported through gifts from our donors, as well as an additional wing to Engineering Building 3, and planning money for the much-needed Hunt Library complex on our Centennial campus. We also received significant funding for repair and renovation of the state's 4-H camps, another one of our statewide responsibilities. Of course, we are also grateful for the private donations that have supported so many of our capital construction projects. In fact, as the result of the confidence of our donors, the work of the governor and our state legislature, and the goodwill of North Carolina's voters who said yes to the higher education bond of 2000, we continued a much-needed program of construction on a massive scale. We opened several new buildings, including our Park Alumni Center and the Joyner Visitor Center, two buildings that go a long way toward creating a new first impression of our campus, both significantly supported by private gifts. And on the subject of construction, I know many of you have endured the discomforts and growing pains of the work being done on this great campus. I thank you for your patience. Soon we will be able to spend more time enjoying our new spaces and less time worrying about moving lost parking places and blocked roadways. We have created some beautiful new spaces. If you take an objective look, you'll see that we are creating a beautiful campus at NC State. And we will continue. Thank you. And we will continue the work of campus transformation well into the future. Also this year, under President Bowles' leadership, we began the work of the President's Advisory Committee on Efficiency and Effectiveness, identifying areas where we can become more efficient and more effective on the administrative side. NC State has the foundation for continuing to be a leader. In fact, it was President Bowles himself who said, after a tour of Centennial Campus, "I have seen the future." That's a strong endorsement for Centennial Campus and a strong endorsement for NC State. Let's talk now about how we move into that future that I've talked about, how our strategic plan becomes a reality, and how we continue to live out the phrase, innovation in action. As I said earlier, our focus will be on producing leaders, improving health and well-being, educational innovation, economic development, as well as energy and the environment. The work done in these 5 focus areas will be supported by 10 investment priorities. I'd encourage you to take a look at our website to find out more about these strategic directions. I won't go into each one of them now, but without a doubt, the top investment priority is to continue to develop a faculty and staff of the highest quality. We know that creative, dedicated faculty and staff drive our knowledge-based activities. We understand that competitive compensation, professional development opportunities, and a supportive work environment are the keys to continuing to attracting and retaining high-quality faculty and staff. We will continue to work with President Bowles, the UNC system, and the legislature to continue moving faculty salaries toward the 80th percentile as compared to our peers. A few of the other more notable items from the strategic plan include hiring faculty around those 5 focus areas, a budget commitment of about $14 million, an added emphasis on advising, including a commitment to more than 20 new professional advising staff members, a focus on elementary education, and a particular emphasis on the discipline-based teaching and learning in the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics disciplines. There will be continued investments in the international arena, and there will be a university-wide emphasis on entrepreneurship and leadership with particular attention to such programs in our colleges of engineering and management. Clearly, there's much more to discuss when it comes to our investment priorities, and we will do that in various venues throughout the year. In the meantime, I encourage you, each and every one of you, to read and consider our strategic plan and determine the role that you will play in helping us reach our collective goals. Finally, I'm excited to introduce an initiative and challenge that focuses on one of the biggest issues of the day, answering the world's energy needs while preserving the environment. NC State has a broad portfolio of energy and environmental research that will continue to develop new technologies in several colleges. We also have the proven capacity and ability to lead the policy discussions and build partnerships to help the state and nation on the energy front. Here at home, our state, North Carolina, is an importer of energy at a cost of about $16 billion per year. Reversing that equation, even a little bit, would be a long-term economic driver for our state. If we're going to play a lead role in that effort, we have to start on our own campus. We can provide significant leadership from NC State in this high priority area. We will continue to invest in and pursue broad energy research projects. We also will examine our own policies and procedures for leadership opportunities. To get us started, we have created an Energy Council made up of students, faculty, staff, and the business community to help set our agenda. The Council will not only concentrate on building partnerships and momentum, but also on how we will build our academic resources to create scholarships and academic programs focused around energy and the environment. Already we have created several action items, including the formation of a Research Triangle Energy Consortium, RTEC, a partnership with Duke, UNC Chapel Hill, and RTI International. RTEC will hold its first symposium in November. We are creating new undergraduate research opportunities around energy and the environment. We are investing in faculty and graduate student support, including cluster hires in energy and the environment. We are building a pilot plant in cellulosic ethanol at Lake Wheeler, near similar pilot plants for biodiesel and biomass production. These facilities leverage the world-class biotechnology and biomass expertise on our campus, which can now be focused on providing liquid fuels and power for our state. In February, the Emerging Issues Forum will be focused on energy policy, and there will be announcements very soon about that agenda and the speakers. In partnership with NC Green Power, we are installing a small solar power generation station near the RBC Center, a first step toward helping North Carolina meet the latest renewable fuel standards for the state's utilities. On October 16th, talk show host Charlie Rose will lead a panel discussion on environmental architecture. And Secretary of Energy for the United States, Samuel Bodman, will speak on October 23rd. This is just the beginning. You'll hear more about the energy and environment effort in the coming months and throughout the year, including the ways we can all become involved in this area of global importance. We will continue to tell the story of our energy and environment-related activities. We've talked at some length today about our strategic plan and about our focus areas. The obvious reality is they are largely just words on the page at the moment. Accomplishing these plans requires us to push ourselves to act boldly, to hold true to our heritage while moving confidently into a world that calls for our leadership. I'd like to leave you with one more success story that I believe sums up NC State's ability to lead in a changing world. I mentioned that Centennial Campus added 17 partners last year. One of those partners is Meade Westvago's Packaging Innovation Center. Wood and paper science, design, mechanical and aerospace engineering, management, and textiles have already built working relationships with the center. If you haven't visited that new homepage that I mentioned recently, you may have missed the center's president, Jack Goldfrank, saying that, and I quote, "There is no better place for us to be. A lot of universities talk innovation and talk economic development. NC State practices it," end quote. That's high praise. It's a story worth telling, and it speaks to the core of our mission at NC State. The story not only serves as an example of what we do, but also how we do it. We work across boundaries and disciplines and along a broad continuum. We work with industries and across industry sectors. We work with farmers and bioengineers. We work with teachers in K-12 classrooms and drive innovative education. We are on the leading edge of scientific breakthroughs, and we are great creative writers and designers. We lift students toward their aspirations, and we help them surprise themselves by what is possible. We produce leaders today with an eye toward them becoming the leaders of tomorrow. We do what we do because we have the vision, we have the capacity, and we have the will to use our abilities for the greater good. Like President Bowles, we have seen the future, and it is very much what we make of it. We will not let the future define us by its dilemmas. We will define the future with our solutions. We will tell our stories. I am proud to be Chancellor of North Carolina State University and stand alongside of you, our faculty, our staff, our students, our alumni, our donors, our partners, our friends, and our supporters. NC State has a strong history of accomplishment. I hope you will join me in driving the future successes and in telling the great stories that abound here at NC State. I want to thank you again for being here this afternoon. Now I'd like you to enjoy a brief video that reinforces much of what we've talked about this afternoon. Again, thank you for being here.